Warning, this program is entirely fictional and made by a sole Canadian man. All characters and events in the show, including the host, even those that are based on real people, are entirely fictional. The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
America. The land of opportunity. Fueled by immigration and innovation, with just a touch of authoritarian despotism. Here in these glorious United States, there exists a vast criminal underworld stretching from sea to shining sea, and if you look closely at our utopian American settlements, you may just find the stain of criminal activity in more places than you ever thought possible. Tonight, on Grand Theft Auto Geographies. Tonight we will be breaking the formula slightly to examine not one, but four, technically 5 districts of Portland, all of which are either small in size or in relevance to both crime and the history of Liberty City. As we wrap up our examination of Liberty City's seediest island and the home of the East Coast American mafia, we will endeavor to cover everything we have thus far overlooked, as we prepare to cross the Callahan Bridge into Liberty's infamous Staunton Island districts. We will see murder, illegal deals, eccentric proclivities, and wealthy wiseguys as we explore the oft-forgotten neighborhoods of Hepburn Heights, Callahan Point, Portland View, and Portland Beach. Our first stop tonight is very close to where we began this series in the Red Light District, in an adjacent neighborhood most known for its history of gang activity, Hepburn Heights. The Heights are a very simple area of northwestern Portland consisting of primarily just 2 large housing projects, with 5 total apartment blocks for low-income residents of Liberty City. A boardwalk of green grass and great views shared with the neighboring Red Light and Harwood districts, and a ridge/park on the district's east side, bordering St. Mark's. The district features 2 primary avenues on its east and western edges, with the western avenue splitting off near the border of Red Light District into 2 smaller roads, which loop east back into the district, and 2 other main roads also both connecting to Red Light, with one also connecting to Harwood in the north. The district borders the Red Light District to the south, Harwood to the north, the river to the west, and St. Mark's to the east. Moving to the southwestern corner of Portland, we come to Callahan Point. Arguably the least developed district on the whole island and home to only 3 buildings, large amounts of vegetation or parkland, a seawall, and a single small dock for boats. Callahan Point is the definition of bare bones, with the skyscrapers of Staunton Island to the west dominating much of its skyline, and the rest of the area's view obstructed by the bridge named for the district, which runs over much of the neighborhood. The district consists of only one road going one way and running south, down under the Callahan Bridge, before turning up to slope back and connect with Atlantic Keys to the east. It borders Callahan Bridge and Chinatown to the north, Trenton and Atlantic Keys to the east, and the river to the west and south. Moving on to the opposite side of Portland, we arrive on the other contender for least developed district in Portland with Portland Beach. Consisting of only the famous Salvatore's Gentlemen's Club, mansion base of the Leone family, and a large empty coastline, as well as the infamous Portland Rock. Featuring sharp, steep declines and rough terrain throughout the area, Portland Beach is another district with very little going on, and is only remembered at all due to the presence of the Leone family headquarters there, and its scenic views of the Atlantic Ocean. The area technically has no roads whatsoever, but borders Portland View, St. Mark's, and Harwood to the east, Portland Harbor to the south, and the ocean to the west. And jumping to the very center of Portland, we arrive at Portland View, named as such for its central placement and hub of the city's main civic services. Being home to the Portland Police Department, the district is one of the few in the city to feature little crime over the decades, and mostly serves as the island's governmental heart, connecting more important parts of the city to each other. The area consists exclusively of residential and commercial zoning with only 2 primary roads, as well as a small section of a larger avenue coming from the west out of Chinatown. One road features the aforementioned police department building and the Sweeney General Hospital, while the other, completely disconnected from the rest of the district, serves as the access point for the area's other main attraction, the Supasave department store, before becoming Portland Harbor to the south. There is also a large empty grass lot or park on parts of the district's southern border with Trenton, with the district visible along much of its main stretch of road. It borders parts of Portland Beach and Portland Harbor to the east, St. Mark's to the north, Chinatown to the west, and Trenton to the south. Easily the district with the most history to speak of from tonight's selection, Hepburn Heights has long been the site of gang warfare and territorial disputes between the warring factions of Liberty City's criminal underworld. For most of the district's history, it was under the control of the Puerto Rican gang, the Diablos, led by El Burro, who sold drugs and possibly illegal pornography to the many disenfranchised and poverty-stricken residents of the district's low-income housing. Prior to being controlled by the Diablos, it is believed that the area was ruled by the Leone crime family out of St. Mark's, with ruthless efficiency, until an attempted coup in 1998, orchestrated by elements of the Sicilian mafia, armed the Diablos to fight off the Leones in the district's bloodiest known conflict. Though the Leones would hold the district throughout 1998, by 2000 the area would fall under the domain of the Staunton Island-based Yakuza. At this time, there were numerous advertisements around the district for Kenji's Casino in Staunton's Torrington district, while the future building was still named Pachinko World, before being torched and rebranded soon after. It is unclear for how long the Yakuza held Hepburn, but just 1 year later in 2001, they would be pushed out by the Diablos, possibly for disputes between the two over unpaid protection money. Official Trenton Police Precinct logs from 2001 show just how quickly the Diablos rose to prominence in the area, with a leaked report describing the area as, quote, a territory dominated by Latin American street gangs. Until recently, the activity of these gangs was thought to be limited to minor narcotics offenses and petty car crime. New information suggests a powerful, if street-level gang emerging, based around the charismatic adult film star, El Burro. El Burro, who has been known to Liberty City Police for 4 years now, is a well-established criminal mastermind, a man without morals who thinks nothing of sharing his lustful ways with animals. He is a scourge on the morals of our nation. The street gang is believed to be called the Diablos. Several undercover agents have turned while investigating the gang, believed to have been lured into a sick world of vice, narcotics, and easy money. End quote. In 2001, the infamous Reaper Man Claude would take on several jobs from El Burro by way of a payphone in the area, as well as collect one of Maidman Luigi Gottarelli's working girls, who may have lived in one of the apartment complexes in the area in some of Claude's first known work for the criminal underworld following his escape from prison. Second to the Heights, Callahan Point is also fairly well known for violent crime taking place in the area, likely more so than for any of its specific geographic characteristics. In 1998, the area housed a Leone family warehouse, which was burned down during a mafia war of the same year, and also that same year, Tony Cipriani, working independently, would follow and film the Chinatown-based butcher Giovanni Casa as he ran around the district's Riverside Park, attempting to explore his proclivities with a pair of frightened prostitutes. In 2000, at an undisclosed parking lot in the district, the area would see conspiracy and chaos when presumed Leone associate Vinny faked his own death with a violent explosion in an attempt to rid himself of obligations to his former partner in crime, Mike, another presumed Leone associate. The next year, in 2001, Claude the Reaper Man would collect a car for Joey Leone containing the corpse of a Forelli family soldier, and possibly see further violence when it is assumed Claude murdered 2 of the remaining Forelli brothers who had been waiting in ambush while escaping with the body for disposal. When it comes to Portland Beach, it depends entirely on how much emphasis you place on Salvatore's Gentlemen's Club for how much history can be gleaned from the district. Given that it is technically the true site of the Leone family headquarters, almost all criminal activity attributable to the Leones over the years while under the leadership of Don Salvatore Leone could also be attributed to Portland Beach, given that Salvatore frequently gave out orders from his mansion in the area. If this connection is ignored, however, the only other notable event in Portland Beach's history was also tied to the Leones, when in 1998, the neighborhood's Portland Rock, just off of its eastern coast, served as the final battle in the 1998 Mafia Wars, which terrorized the entire city. It was here that Salvatore Leone and Tony Cipriani cornered and killed the Sicilian mobster Massino Torini and rescued Mayor Miles O'Donovan, which began the 3-year period of total Leone dominance in Portland. Finally, when looking at Portland View, there is very little criminal history to speak of at all. No major crimes are known to have taken place predominantly in the area, and throughout its history it has managed to avoid major controversies and scandals, common among other parts of Liberty City. This lack of infamy likely comes down to the fact that the area houses the Portland Police Department HQ, and is therefore heavily patrolled and monitored by the LCPD. Being exclusively residential, the only notable places of interest in Hepburn Heights are the 5 apartment buildings which define the district's personality, as well as the previously mentioned Riverside Promenade and the park on its eastern edge. Though sparsely populated with buildings, Callahan Point has had at least a few noteworthy businesses over the years, including the famous Greasy Joe's, a Leone family warehouse, the Turtlehead Fish Factory, and Rusty Brown's Ring Donuts. In addition to business in the area, it also has a jetty or dock, a public park, and at least one large building that is presumed residential. The only noteworthy places of interest in Portland Beach are Salvatore's Gentlemen's Club, Portland Rock, and the beach itself. And finally, Portland View features the most businesses or notable buildings out of all the districts we've looked at today, but few other important or noteworthy places of interest. Some of them include Classic Nails, Clench, Cocker Knockers, Dry Cleaning, Page 3 Bookstore, Signora Grande, Supa Save, Tube, Sweeney General Hospital, the Portland Police Department, as well as the Portland View Park. Alright, time to drop character to look at the real-world inspirations for these districts, starting once again with Hepburn Heights, which is very evidently based on the many working-class neighborhoods of Brooklyn, New York, with similar urban design. Thanks again to the wonderful GTA Wiki for helpful insights. The most obvious analogs for Hepburn Heights are the similarly named Brooklyn Heights, Brownsville, and Queensbridge. The design of Hepburn's iconic tenement buildings is the clearest reason to draw this comparison, with this building design having been ripped almost directly from the real-world examples of low-income housing in Brooklyn and many other similarly urban American cities such as Detroit, Chicago, and various parts of the American Rust Belt. With Callahan Point, we already briefly touched on this area's primary inspiration in our episode on Atlantic Keys, that being Dumbo, New York, and parts of Fulton Ferry. Given that Atlantic Keys and Callahan Point border and complement one another, this is no surprise, with the real-world Dumbo, or Down Under Manhattan Bridge overpass, being far more industrial, but also featuring various sections of greenery like the park in Callahan Point's southwestern corner. The inspiration can be seen most evidently when actually standing under the Callahan and Brooklyn bridges, looking out onto the Staunton Island and Manhattan Island skylines respectively. Portland Beach is evidently based on some of the less populated parts of Brooklyn's south edge, most likely parts of Brighton Beach just east of Coney Island, with its longer exposed beaches and predominantly residential neighborhoods. Based on my own research, I also think that parts of it may be based on Breezy Point, Bell Harbor, Seaside, Rockaway Beach, and even Long Beach, in the far south of Brooklyn, which are similarly long stretches of land with mostly residential zoning and flat beaches, something which may not be reflected in Portland Beach simply due to the compressed and exaggerated geometry of fitting a New York-style city in an area smaller than Lower Manhattan. Finally, for Portland View, I had to do a bit of guesswork and extra research, not being a New Yorker or a particularly traveled man myself. My best guess is that the centrally located district could be based on the similar Park Slope, South Slope, Windsor Terrace, and Prospect Park neighborhoods, which feature mostly mixed zoning with low to middle income residential units. Another possible inspiration may be Sunset Park, but given the simplicity of Portland View and evidence that its consideration as a separate district at all may have come late in the development of GTA 3, as well as the fact that the real-world Brooklyn is far larger than all of 3D-era Liberty City put together, it's hard to say for certain. If you are a New Yorker, let me know how accurate you think my estimations have been. And if you think you know a better direct comparison for Portland View or any of the other districts we've examined today, let me know in the comments section down below. And so we come to the end of the Portland Island districts. With our next episode, we will finally begin examining Staunton Island, which will likely have full-length episodes for every district. Thank you again for supporting this channel and watching this series. And if you'd like to get episodes of GTA Geographies a day early, get access to the music used from my shows, or simply support my work here on YouTube, you can go to patreon.com/Guinness Walker and get access to all kinds of goodies. I'll see you next time on GTA Geographies with me, your host, Guinness Walker. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.